Monday.
Monday.
And it's a holiday where you are, isn't it, Christina?
It is a holiday here. It's our May long weekend, Victoria Day holiday today. So,
well, thank you for sharing your holiday with us, because we're pretty excited about today. But there's not a holiday here in Mexico, and there's definitely not a holiday in the U.S. So we appreciate anybody Canadian joining us today on the broadcast. What are we talking about today?
So today we're talking a little bit about how you can't out-train a bad diet, how you can't make excuses, how your fitness is never going to be enough to replace what you're eating, and the beliefs that go along with that, and the ways to sort of change that, I guess, and find more balance in your entire journey.
Yeah, and guys, so you'll notice that our coffee chats have we've picked them up a little bit in the sense of that we have homework assignments and we have information. So same thing goes today. There's going to be some sheets and there's going to be some things for you guys to do. And that's really just trying to encourage you guys to really focus on some of this stuff, because we do know that when you do the work, you see the results, right? That is the honest truth. And I was saying to somebody the other day, when it comes to the fitness side of things, I don't have an issue with that. That is something that I will do and I enjoy myself doing. I never say I have to work out. I never say I have to go teach. I just do it. I mean, yesterday we had technical issues with one of our classes and I was so bummed because I love the Dance Fit class and I just wanted to do it. So that's not the issue. The issue comes from the story after the workout that I tell myself. And this is, again, somebody who's been working on mindset forever and ever and ever. So this is a work in progress always. Hi, Denise.
Good morning. Happy birthday.
Happy birthday. We're not going to sing because that would just be terrible for all of us. But happy birthday, Denise. But yeah, the stories that I tell myself afterwards. And again, if any of these sound familiar, give us some of the stories you might tell yourself. I deserve it. It's been a long week. I've worked out really hard. I think I can have those cookies, donuts, whatever it may be. I can't is a big one that we use a lot. And as parents, if you're a parent, guys, you try to say no to your children regularly to say they can't do it, right? If your child said to you, I can't ride my bike, you'd be like, get back on your bike. You can do it. Change can't into can and let's make it happen. But yet we don't say that to ourselves very often. And so this is where we're going to be chatting a little bit about the stories that we tell ourselves. Christina, what are some that you tell yourself?
So honestly, I actually take it the other direction because I'm way better at the nutrition side of things than I am at the fitness side of things. And it hasn't always been that way. Obviously, I didn't get to needing surgery. I didn't get to morbid obesity. I didn't get to all of those things by being perfect at this. But this is something I've worked really hard at through my journey. So I don't use the can't anymore. That was a big thing that I used to do is I'd be like, oh, I can't have this. Or that's bad food, or, something like that. Well, there's no such thing as bad food. Food can't be good or bad. It's just food is food. It's, it's just fuel. It fuels your body differently, but those are some of the things that I've worked really hard to change. So now I try very hard to live in balance. If I want something, I try to make a healthier version of it first. But ultimately, if I want something bad enough, I just have it and try not to do it very often and try to balance it with good healthy foods. And the more, healthy things I eat, then, I have less room for the other stuff. So that's something I've worked out, but I'm actually the opposite way. If I work out, because working out is hard for me to do, I do tell myself I have to. I don't always want to. I lack motivation for workout for sure. So if I do the workout, I won't ruin my workout by eating junk. So like I said, I go the opposite way of that. I'm like, yeah, I worked out today. So I won't, eat poorly because I don't want to ruin that workout with eating this stuff. Yeah, I've taken it to the other direction, which isn't always a healthy way of doing it either. I'm not saying it's perfect. But that is the stories that I tell myself, that I don't want to ruin my workout by, which, realistically, you're not, because they're not an equal thing. You're comparing apples and oranges, essentially, when you're workout and in nutrition. They go hand in hand in some ways, but one does not equate the other and vice versa. They're just not equal in the way that they work. And if I work out and then say, oh no, I can't have that piece of fudge. I don't know why that's in my brain. But I can't have that piece of fudge because I worked out. Well, that's not an equal thing. Those aren't one or the other. Or they don't go together like that, but we very much put them together that they fit. So
yeah, and oftentimes, interesting enough, and very similar to a lot of people that we speak to within our groups and within our memberships, is that we reward ourselves with food and we punish ourselves with exercise. And it's very interesting because now you're here sitting talking to two different people who are very different, of course, in many ways. You guys have heard the differences between Christina and I, not just our personalities, but how we deal with things. But rewarding yourself with, a glass of wine because it's been a hard day, or, on a Friday evening, just being like, oh my God, I made it through homeschooling. I made it through, work from home. I got all my exercise in. I checked all the boxes. I, tracked all week long. Now I deserve whatever, maybe chocolate fudge. I don't know, whatever it is. Right?
That's weird.
That is weird. I don't know either. But again, so that's the reward part of it. But then oftentimes you'll also hear, well, oh, I went to a birthday party. I had wine. I had this. I got to go to the gym extra long tomorrow. I got to work extra hard tomorrow. So that becomes the punishment of the exercise. And now neither one of them is healthy. It happens all the time. And so when we talk about the stories that we tell ourselves, it comes down to what we call our limiting beliefs, okay? Our limiting beliefs are things that we truly believe, whether they're sane or not, right? I am deathly, and I mean deathly, I truly think that I will die if a snake touched me. I am deathly afraid of snakes. That fear is, I don't even know where it's come from. I don't know what happened. I don't know where it is, but I truly believe that, right? I truly believe that. Now, if I worked within my limiting beliefs of why a snake would make me feel that way, what would it do? I mean, unless I'm literally, I don't know, getting eaten by a very dangerous one, which I know exists, I'm not going to die. I will scream, probably a lot, and all those things. So this is where we have to really focus on some of these limiting beliefs. And now the downside is, again, it takes work, right? But Christine, right? She comes from childhood. She got good grades. I would go pick a restaurant and go into childhood. We hear this all the time, Christine, and I know Christina and I talk about this too, right? Oh, in my case, the girls have done really, really well. Let's take them out for ice cream. Or, Ben's worked for little Ben, no, Big Ben too maybe, but little Ben's done really well this week, so I'm gonna give him whatever it may be. And it does come from childhood. And now as parents ourselves, we really do have to look at it. I truly feel like that reward is something that we need to look at that's non-edible, right? If Ben does really well, he would want, I don't even know if dinosaurs are this thing anymore because he kind of goes up and down with them, but he would really want whatever, a toy, a jump on the trampoline, a walk around the park, a scooter around the park, and those are the things that he actually wants way more than ice cream. And even though for us, we may think, well, I actually do want the ice cream when I do well. I don't want to walk around the park. I don't want a toy. But who doesn't want like a really nice outfit? Or who doesn't want to reward themselves with a pedicure or something like that? So when it comes to reward and punishment, we really have to look at what it is we reward ourselves that are hopefully not edible. But Christine, that's a really good point.
That is something that in the bariatric world, a lot of us have to work at, is especially in that first, like when you're losing weight initially, it's something that I see a lot of the time is like people want to reward themselves for a job well done, but they don't even know how to. They don't know what rewards, what are good rewards? Like all I've ever done is reward myself with food. So how can I reward myself? And then rewriting those stories around food. I actually had a good friend that I lost a friendship, which we'll talk about more about relationships next week, I think. But I had a good friend who, her and I didn't even know how to interact together anymore because all we did together was go to eat. Like that was literally our entire friendship was, oh, what do you want to do? Let's go to eat. Oh, where are we going to go to eat? Where are we going to go to eat? Like that's all we did together. So you have to rewrite so many of your stories when you're changing your belief systems around food and when you're trying to not reward yourself with food anymore. Because you still want to, technically reward yourself for doing really great, but what can you reward yourself with instead? Maybe a nice relaxing bath, maybe a new book, maybe you can take yourself for a pedicure. Not right now, maybe. Maybe you can, buy yourself some new makeup, buy yourself some new clothes that you can, change like something different that, but just try to keep your rewards away from something that you eat all the time.
Yeah, and it's hard because again, we've grown up this way. It's ingrained in our head that that's what happens when it comes to rewards. I know a little while ago, my daughter did really, really well in something, and we wanted to reward her. But rather than go to the food part of things, we turned around and said, hey, why don't we get you that art kit you really wanted? Or what about those books that you really wanted? And again, it's giving them the options as well. That it's not just food. I've often said to my kids, do you guys want to go out for dinner, or do you want me to just give you the money? And what do you think they're going to tell me? They're going to be like, I want the money. They don't care, right? And again, a lot of people are sitting here telling us, with the COVID and everything, oh, I miss going out for dinner. It's not about the dinner. It's not about the actual food. It's about the time you spend, the going out, the doing the thing. So that's kind of where we have to look at that. Sorry, I was just reading what Julie said. I need to hear this. I need to train my brain so that I had a hard week, and now, yes, exactly.
Well, reward yourself with. Like for me, I have learned, especially during all this COVID stuff, that socialization is a big reward for me. So rewarding myself with, and that was part of what going out to dinner was for me, was that like socialization of, even just if Dallas and I went out for dinner, it was like, we didn't have to think about what to cook. We didn't have to think about the dishes afterwards. We didn't have to think about, oh, look, we're sitting here and, oh, this over here could use to be cleaned, or, oh, this, you're just not in your space. Like it's just something different. So trying to reward yourself in different ways, like going for a walk with a friend, or, just doing something else instead of just rewarding yourself with that food or drink. And Christine, I like your reward. I'm going to reward myself with stuff to decorate my home gym. Nice.
Yeah, and then Debbie said the same thing. It is a slippery slope, because that's what happens, right? We get to this place where, whether you are walking or doing exercise or running or any of those things, we get to that place where we turn around and we say, okay, I've done the work, right? Now I get to have, whatever it is, cookie, a donut, whatever it is. It's funny that I use the donut because I actually am not a huge donut fan, but, whatever it may be. And so this is where it gets to, you have to kind of think to yourself, okay, I know that it is not just the exercise that is going to make the difference in how you work towards your journey. Okay, I know that, and I've been in the fitness and wellness industry for 20 years. I know that, if you looked at the percentage, 80% of it truly does come from what you're eating versus what you're doing. But I also know that because it's okay and I'm good at doing the exercise, that the hard part is talking about those stories and rewriting those scripts and rewriting those limiting beliefs. That's the hard stuff. Okay, we have our paid membership group where we come in and you do your bariatric transformation, and we work all mindset, exercise, fitness, all of that stuff support. And last week's challenge, we have a challenge every single week. Last week's challenge was rewriting our sentences, which is kind of what we talked about last week on the coffee chat. I gave you guys homework. I did all this stuff. Do you know how many people actually did it in our group? 3.
It was very few.
Right?
It's hard.
It's hard.
Like, it's funny. Lindsay and I say all the time, because we get asked so frequently, can you just create me a meal plan? Can you walk around and slap bad food out of my hands? Can you make me a fitness plan? Can you keep me accountable, Lindsay? Make me show up to these workouts? And you know what? The answer is we can't do any of that stuff, or we can, but it's really not going to work. That the hard work in this journey all happens up here. The easy stuff is I can tell you what to eat. And for a while, you might even eat it. And then you might even get results from it, which is great. But eventually, if you don't do the work up here, you're going to get back into those old patterns. It's unfortunate and sad. And that's why the regain rate in the bariatric world is what it is, because so much of it is focused on your belly and what happens in here and not up here and what happens here. So Lindsay and I have shifted a lot of our focus to be a lot more focused in our paid membership program on the mindset piece of things. And we're trying to encourage our members to do the work, but it's hard. And we respect that it's hard, because Lindsay and I know that it's hard. Can somebody, sorry, if anybody's listening, can somebody tag Lisa Boulay? She's trying to find the coffee chat and she can't find it. And I can't tag her on here. So she's messaging me. Like, where is it? I can't find it. Anyways.
But this is the thing, and this is the part that we want you to understand, is that the reason that we do talk about it, like some people are like, Lindsay, all you ever do, Christina, why? And it is because we know it's such an important part of the journey. But we also understand how hard it is. Thank you, Ruth. So it's really, really hard. But here's some things I want you to think about for a second, okay? So our belief, which is like what's happened in our past, that shapes our decisions, that shapes our choices, is really often very negative in terms of certain things. Now, you know, the smell of apple crumble pie brings you right back to your grandmother cooking in the kitchen. That's not negative. That is definitely not negative, but that doesn't mean you have to go and have an apple pie just to remember your grandmother. That's not the case, right? But here's the thing. A lot of our thoughts turn into our emotional information. And I was doing some research the other day because I'm working with somebody that is really, really big into this. So over the last 40 years, so think about that. I'm 42, so that's like a lot of time. Anxiety in the US has gone up to 40 million people, okay? In the US alone. We're not talking Canada, Mexico, anywhere else. Depression has gone up to 14 million people. Okay, so anxiety is now actually taken depression up over, and it's because the way that we are concentrating on all the things that we do wrong, concentrating on all the things we can't do, we don't do, it changes our mental and emotional state. Okay, so here's what you have to think about. In kids, it has gone up 81%.
Wow.
81% in children, guys, teens, and college students, same thing. College students and not preschool, what's about preschool? Like 6, 7, 8-year-olds. Those were the two highest.
Elementary,
thank you. Okay, so there's some studies going on. A guy named Martin Seligman, and he's basically found that 50% of our happiness comes from genetics. So you know that like really bubbly person who's always just really bubbly? She does have some genetics to play on that because that's just how she's always been. Okay, 10% of our happiness comes from our life experiences. Okay, this is what's happened in our life, the good, the bad, the ugly, right? Some people have some really ugly, some people have some really good, some people have some really bad. That's 10% though. Often in our brains, we give a lot more of that to it. But here's the kicker. 40% of our happiness comes from our intentional activities that we control every single moment of every single day. So we can teach ourselves, we can change it. And that's the killer.
One of the things I tell people, and I know you say this all the time too, that Lindsay and I both are very passionate about, you can only control what you can control. And so you need to focus on the pieces that you can control. You can't control other people's actions. You can't control some of what happens to you. And I mean, obviously, as Lindsay just said, only 10% of your depression, your anxiety, your sadness, all of those pieces come from that. The rest of it either comes from your genetic predisposition or the things that you control. So I'm assuming, and again, I didn't read this study, but I would assume that everybody has some happiness genetically predispositioned into them. Like, I don't think there's anybody that's like, just totally a negative nanny, like the whole way that, I mean, maybe I've met a few, but
not many, but absolutely. There's some people that definitely have some things going on. But when you think about genetically, like 50%, that's huge, and 10% being where we are. But here's where the problem lies. So 40% is in our control to actually make some changes, to control our anxiety, to control our depression. And again, I'm not saying like remove the medicines, and I know that people really do struggle with some of that. All 4 of my nieces and nephews are on ADHD drugs. Like, I'm not saying that, but this is the thing. We live in a world that you need to be more, where's my hands? More, right? You need to be better, you need to be smarter, you need to be thinner, you need to be prettier. We're bombarded by all these expectations. Kids in the US in high school are expected to do all these things and get all these grades, right? You get a job, then you're expected to do all these things. Now you want more, you want more. So we already live in a place where they're basically saying, yeah, you have an opportunity to make these changes, but by the way, in order to live in the world you live in, you need to do this, and this. So I just want you guys to think about, that idea of I can't, I'm too short, my daughter, she wants to be an actress, and she was like, oh, I'm going to be too short, nobody's going to want to hire me. Or, and I'm like, what are you talking about? There's short actors all over the place. There's big, there's small, there's white, there's black. It doesn't matter, because if that person said, I'm going to do it, they're going to do it. If you've ever heard Will Smith's story, highly recommend listening to it. So Jim Carrey's story, listen to it. Like, these people made it happen themselves. And this is the thing. So if you are struggling with some of these limiting beliefs, again, understandable, it happens, everybody has them, but you got to ask yourself why. And part of the worksheet homework that you guys are going to get is going to be in that place where you're going to think of your belief, and then why did you have it? Why? And you might not be able to figure out exactly, like, again, with my snake thing, I don't know where it specifically came from, but is it true? And that's the big piece of the puzzle. Is it true? Okay, if I see a gardener snake on the path, am I really gonna die? Let's be honest. It's not gonna happen, right? I may think I am, and I may throw my daughter in front of me thinking that that's the best experience. Actually, that's a true story, but I knew she wasn't afraid of it. I was afraid of it. So these are the things that I want you to really think about, because if we have 40% of that possibility to change the way we do things, then that's a really big part of what we have in our control. And now, again, people often say to me, but Lindsay, that's so woo-woo-y, right? Gratitude and happiness and journal writing and all those things. But if you look at anybody who has overcome some of the things we're talking about, I guarantee 100% that that's where they started.
Well, and it's so funny because Lindsay is far more woo-woo-y than I am. But I have done a lot of this work. I do it in sort of a different way, but it is things that I have done, and I've worked on those pieces because I know it works. Like, that's the whole thing, that you can say that it's whatever. And if it doesn't work for you, well, that's one thing, but you've got to give it a real try. And a lot of these things do work, and changing your story around things does work. We talked last week, we talked emotional eating in our paid program last week was our big focus. Our nutritional focus for the week was on emotional eating. And again, the homework after the fact was find your triggers of when and why you emotionally eat, what you emotionally eat, and what are some things you could change and do differently. And so again, that's something I've done a lot of work around, that I have one pretty big trigger that isn't going anywhere, sadly. But I've had to, and that trigger is not going to change, but I've had to make some changes around how I react to that. So that's a big piece that I have done. So again, is it woo-woo-y? Sort of, but I mean, it's something I can completely control. I can't control that trigger and what happens and how often it happens or any of that. I can limit my interaction maybe, but I can't control what's going to happen there. So I had to control the part of me that was reacting to that. And ultimately, that was the part that was upsetting me. It really wasn't the trigger and what was happening there. It was my reaction to it. That was the part that was upsetting for me. So I had to do some work around how could I react differently? What could I change? And now, honestly, it typically doesn't impact me in the same way, and I don't turn to it the same way. So
yeah, and it really is. It's so interesting. I know Christine just talked about her germs. She's very, 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 very germophobic. And this is something that we talk about quite a bit actually in our programs and stuff. And to think that it has been there her whole life, and it's mental, and there's why. Now, again, I have people say to me all the time, but Lindsay, there are snakes that can kill you. Yes, there are. But Christine, there are germs that can kill you. Well, yes, there are. So it's not to say that some of those fears are not, there for a reason. That's why we have them. But the chances of you touching a doorknob or walking and seeing a gardener snake while I'm out running are going to kill me are slim to none, right? That's just the way it's going to work. So here's the thing. I want you to really think about this for a second. So back in 1954, okay, Roger Bannister broke the 4-minute mile. Okay, everybody thought it was impossible. They thought it was impossible to break the 4-minute mile. 46 days later, he lost his record because somebody else broke it. Now, today, it's like a whole other world. Nothing is impossible for some people. That is their honest truth. Nothing is impossible. You hear it all the time. Whether you think you can or you think you can't, you're right. Yeah. That is the honest truth. If I think that I'm going to always eat after I work out, then I'm always going to eat after I work out. If I think that I don't love to exercise, I'm always going to say to myself, well, you don't love to exercise, you just do it.
The one that I hear all the time is I can't cook. And I'm like, that doesn't even register to me that you can't. Like, everybody can cook. Like, there's no such thing as you can't cook. You may not be fantastic at it. You may not be chef caliber, but neither am I. So, but everybody can do it.
And on top of that, if you can't do something, that's why, remember, if we go back to our children, what do we always say to them? You try, you learn. I mean, again, like, I won't lie. When I first met Ben, I barely knew how to boil pasta. It sounds ridiculous, but that was where it was. But then trial and error was like, well, there goes all the pasta all over the floor. Where did all the water go, right? Like, it was a possibility of learning, but I said, it's okay to learn. That is the biggest thing, right? The people who are unbelievable in our world. And again, we know lots of them. It depends on where you are. There's triathletes that are amazing that, Ben and I talk about all the time. There's runners, there's cooks, there's people that are out there that are, doing crazy things every single day. The reason they do it is because they've told themselves that it's possible. The reason that you're not doing it, that I'm not doing it, is because we've never, it would be impossible for me to run a 4-minute mile. Well, the truth of that is it's not true. And that's how we start with limiting beliefs, right? Is where does it come from? And if you don't know, and again, Christine said that, and I don't know about my snake thing, I truly don't. But why do you have it? And is it true? And that is it true is the biggest thing. I can't cook is a load of bullshit. Everybody can say it, and I've used that so many times. I don't like meal prepping so many times. It's not true. I actually had so much fun yesterday in the group meal prep that we did. Okay, I went into it. So as part of our paid program, if you guys don't know, we do meal prep group-wise twice a week. We all come together, we make whatever we want, we ask suggestions, so much fun. I don't like meal prepping, guys, but I was excited to do it because there I am. Now it's accountable, people know. We had a bunch of technical difficulties. I had no idea what I was gonna do. I got on, I'm like, guys, I have sweet potatoes, what should I do? They're like, blah, blah, blah. I'm like, okay, I gotta put this chicken in the air fryer, what do I do? I came out less than 45 minutes later with meatballs, air fryer chicken, sweet potato hash, cantaloupe and pineapple completely cut up. I would never have done that by myself. But I now can't say I don't want a meal prep because when I do those on Wednesdays and Sundays, I actually am looking forward to it. Because I'm like, I wonder what they're making. I wonder if I should make that. We went in this weekend, there was people like, I don't know what I'm making. I just came because I wanted the accountability. And boom, well, you should make this, you should make that. And all of a sudden, other people were making things that somebody else had done the week before. And, what about this?
I think so much of that now that it's like, oh, Dorothy made this and it looked really good. Or, so much of that I'm like, I love seeing that. And I love seeing the people that come to meal prep. Like I said last week, I wasn't there yesterday because it was a holiday weekend here. But on Wednesday night, I was like, there's at least 4 or 5 people here that told the story of I don't meal prep or I can't meal prep. And there was at least 4 or 5 of them there. My mind has been blown by this group meal prep. I really think this is just something we've started a couple weeks ago. And I'm loving it so much and loving seeing everybody there, loving seeing what everybody's creating. I'm loving the feeling, like Mel just said, I don't like meal prepping, but with our group, it's so fun. I'm loving so much, feeling that excitement from the people who aren't necessarily down with meal prep, but feeling like just how proud they are of themselves and recognizing that they're rewriting that story of meal prep.
Absolutely. And I said in our group, we have, our hashtags, and on Wednesday or Thursday, I think it was Toot My Horn. And I was so proud of myself because not only did I show up, which to be fair, I do show up because I'm part of this, business and that's part of it, but I don't show up for me all the time. I show up for everybody else.
Well, right? And honestly, even for you, Lindsay, to toot your own horn, you could have just passed the meal prep portion off to me and been like, that's your thing, Christina, you handled that. But no, you have been showing up and you've been rocking it. So
yeah, it's changing that small thing. Now, will there be days where I'm like, oh God, I don't want to meal prep? Absolutely. But as long as you've changed the story, and my story is meal prep is super fun, right? The only thing in my opinion right now that's missing is grabbing a beer and having it and that's what it feels like. It's just chatting. It's just having a conversation. It's with people. It's absolutely social, and I love it. I love it. So it is changing that story. So this is the thing that we really want you to focus on, okay? And the worksheet that we're going to be sending out is basically giving you an idea of how your beliefs turn into decisions, turn into actions, turn into results. But oftentimes what happens is our beliefs turn into decisions, turn into inaction, right? Because we often take that negative, I can't cook, I don't want to meal prep, I don't like working out, I deserve a donut, and then we do whatever that kind of action that goes along with it. So we are going to be focusing on the positive rewrite of that story, right? So we're rewriting the story, and I want you to look at some of the things, and we all know, you guys are sitting here watching us and you're shaking your head being like, yeah, I use that donut one all the time. Yeah, I use that cooking one all the time, right? So somebody's sitting there going, I don't really know. Come on, think harder because you do know. Think about it, notice your emotions, notice your feelings, right? I have a client that, she was saying the other day, she's like, I just don't know why I went straight to the fridge. And I was like, come on. Of course you know why. Let's talk about that for a second. And then she's like, oh, I was just so frustrated, right? There's your why. Emotions feed everything we do because we are emotional people. Because otherwise we'd be snails and they don't have any brains and they just kind of run around life and do nothing. Boring, boring, boring. But the hard part of having emotions and brains is the mindset piece. And this is where we'll say, do the work. I've told you before, I could do weeks and weeks and weeks of workshops on mindset, but it will not matter if you don't do the work. And so part of why we have your bariatric transformation, it's not just meal plans. You got them for sure. It's not just recipes. It's not just workouts. You have all of those pieces. But that mindset piece of figuring it out and working through, and if you do the work, right, it will make a massive transformation in your journey.
Results will follow. Okay, so from this coffee chat, for those of you who are new to our coffee chats, we will go from this coffee chat. You will message again for the worksheet, Lindsay. Is that the?
Yes. So in this coffee chat, I'll send a message. I do have it set up so that it will go directly to your Facebook inbox. Okay. So take a look for Sassy Evolution's Facebook inbox. I'll put the link here so you can click on it and then get yourself basically set up on our messenger, and it will go directly there.
And then
I wanted to steal. Sorry, I was just laughing.
On Thursday, and you will get a follow-up email with a little bit more information. Lindsay and I both separate. One of us writes a blog post, one of us writes an email. I don't know who does what this week. I can never remember. But one of us writes an email, one of us writes a blog about this exact same topic, about, you know, focusing on making that transformation on the mental journey. So you're going to get just a little bit more information, something you can tuck away and read it again when you need to. It will also have a copy of this video in it as well, so you can come back and watch this again if you'd like to. And then for those of you who do want a little more support, you want a little more accountability, we always have your bariatric transformation program, and you can try your first month for just $21. So if you are thinking, you know what, I kind of want to try that group meal prep, and that sounds like a lot of fun. And hey, there's a chat tonight, a nutrition coaching call tonight, coaching and accountability call tonight that you can get in on. I actually don't even know what our topic is for tonight, to be honest. I think it might be numbers in your journey. It might be. So we'll be talking about macros, I believe will be tonight. It's either macros or meal planning, one of those.
Yeah. And the nice thing about it, guys, is that we record the first like 15, 20 minutes of it where like the learning piece comes in. But I was talking to somebody who was like, I watched the recording and then I wanted to be there. I wanted to be able to be a part of the questions and the conversation. And so that's kind of the nice thing about it too, is that you learn, but you also are there to answer your own specific questions. You hear other people's struggles, right? And I keep seeing people show up here that it's like, you know, it's absolutely emotional. Another thought she had it and she realized that she does. People are like, I can't believe that I'm not alone. I've always felt so alone. You're not. We promise you you're not. But again, you can join our nutrition accountability coaching call tonight if you want to. For $21, you get the whole month to try it out for free. All the different things for that $21. And it gives you an opportunity to see what it's all about. And as I said, we are so much more than just the exercise, the meal plans, and the recipes. It's so much more than that. And you can only know that when you try it. So come and join us if you want. This evening, we can get you set up. Otherwise, Christina, enjoy your vacation day. She is now going to be offline enjoying her vacation minus a class.
I teach a class. We're keeping upper body strong in 1 hour. So if you want to come get your pump on, you can get in 1 hour with me too. So
exactly. But guys, have a fantastic day wherever you are, whatever you're doing, and we will talk to you guys soon. Don't forget the homework. Bye.
Bye.